Oh, you know what we do? It's just the Oregon Trail as an
Ah,
RPG.
yes, you've died of scurvy.
You've died of scurvy. Because if you think about it, Oregon Trail's probably a good analog for this. First up on the show, we have a Delving Deep, where we are going to be talking about a subject matter we previously talked about on the show, but in a bit of a different context. It's almost like we're going deeper into a subject matter.
Crazy.
Funny how that happens. But previously we had talked about the idea of a good, so-called good company and a bad company. Essentially the parties that are the do-gooders and the do-badders.
Batters. Yes.
Doesn't really work the other way. But anyway,
The do-gooders and then not quite so do-gooders.
what happens when your people are just evil? You've just decided to be evil today. You have
Well,
chosen
then you
death.
call it the assholes.
You call in the A-team, as we usually like to refer to them. But on this episode, we thought that we would look at the other option if we want to go to the alignment chart, which is what happens when you have a neutral party, i.e. the Switzerland of your adventuring parties. We're not...
Well, you just stay out of all the conflicts entirely.
You stay out of all the conflicts entirely. You don't really care all that much about whether something is morally correct or not. You're basically just going about your job. It's another day at the office. You're like going into the cave systems, right? And you're like, oh, there's a kobold invasion. Well, okay, I guess that's. It's like the adventuring equivalent of working an office job at a cubicle. Right? It's like
Just going through the motions.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes we get into that habit anyway when you go to like mission boards and there's just like, here's some hot quests in your area.
I usually just take all the quests and don't read the dialogue, don't care about it.
Just
I'm
get
like,
the
all right,
marker.
well, what's the objective? Here we go.
Yeah. I am hard pressed to tell you what all of those were. I just know that they put more objectives on my map.
They just did some things and gave me some rewards.
They did some things, they gave you some rewards, and you will go and do it again. And the consequences do not really matter. I mean, for all I know, they could have just said that I needed to go and stop the scion of righteousness that is going to protect the world from the evil one. And I'd be like, yeah, but I got the quest, so I guess
Well,
I'm
when you're
doing it.
neutral, does it really matter what side you're rooting for?
But the point is that you're not really rooting for anyone, are you?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to root for anyone.
The great thing about being neutral is you can work for both sides.
You know
Clearly.
what? You're right. It's a balancing act. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Yeah.
All things should be.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's someone smart said that once. But when you're playing an RPG, or if you're running an RPG, Alex, what is the likelihood that your party is going to kind of not necessarily be in the good or the bad camp? Like,
Well, I
somewhere
mean,
between.
generally, I think they'll lean more towards the good-er side of things.
The gooder. Not the goodest, but the gooder side.
Like, I don't think generally the party outright tries to do things that are seen as, like, bad or evil.
Sure.
But it's not like they necessarily go out of their way to be super altruistic, lawful, stupid paladins.
Don't call Paladin stupid.
I did once have a player play an incredibly merry, lawful, stupid paladin.
Oh, fun.
Um,
Personally, I did think about playing paladins or clerics at some point, but I didn't really want to do the aspect where they were, just like, I'm an agent of righteousness and I'm going to go off and do... I found that to be very, very... If I was a cleric, I'd probably actually want to be more like a necromancer, raise the dead kind of cleric.
yeah, I had that one player who played a very lawful, stupid paladin, and they're like, "All right, we're in town." It's like, "Yes. Is there anything you guys want to do?" He's like, "Is there anyone in need of help?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you mean? It's like, are there any like homeless people or people who need healing or like to be taken care of? I'm like, no, you're in a major city that is fairly wealthy and takes care of their people. It's like there's not really a lot of homelessness or anything in the city.
Right.
Like, is there something like interesting you'd like to do? It's like, no. I'm looking for charity stuff to do. I was like, no, this is Mary Sue stuff. This is just, I'm great. No, it's
Yeah.
like, do something interesting. Your character can be interesting and
Sure.
not just dumb.
I think it's one of those things where a lot of people might have been turned off of playing characters like that just because it feels so simplistic in like how the character is supposed to be played. And I feel like that's sad because paladins don't really have to do that.
Well, no, and that's the biggest reason for me where if someone goes, I want to be a paladin, I'm like, cool. Your alignment doesn't matter. Just stick to pick a god,
Right.
stick to their dogma.
Yeah.
You know, clerics are very similar. It's like stick to the dogma of your deity, and you're going to be in your god's favor.
Right.
Clerics don't generally have to stick to it as hard. They're priests. They're not holy warriors,
Right.
but they still stick to that kind of
Sure.
like with the role. But the paladins, it's like, oh yeah, my oath is to my god. My oath is the whole spiel. So you got to be
Right.
in alignment with your deity.
Sure thing. Similar fashion, you have a problem with like warlocks. I think a lot of people will take characters like that and say that, well, I guess I'm just evil now. And again,
Yeah.
no, not really.
No, the restrictions on warlock are chaotic or evil.
Right.
And like I played a chaotic good warlock,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like, this is fine.
Yeah.
He's a noble. He's good. And then I made was going to just, as long as it was fine with my DM, like make him a paladin multi-class.
Right. Yeah. I had a concept of actually doing that too that had been kicking around that was actually a Paladin Warlock. And the whole thing that I had for him was that he kind of starts out as the paladin do-gooder character that's supposed to come like I think I was going to make him a Goliath, but the idea that he's kind of coming down from the mountains, he's supposed to be like true to his word, and he's played by the rules his whole life, and then he gets a sword, and the sword starts speaking to him and keeps telling him things that he doesn't really want to admit to, but starts saying, yes, but you understand. You kind of want this, even though you don't understand, even though you don't know that. And so the idea of being torn between two different sides and then having to make a lot of concessions between those two, between a patron and a god that are both asking things of you that are in conflict. I thought that was a good, fun idea.
Could be definitely interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Although, here's my question, Nathan: if you're running a neutral party, or if you are a neutral party, could you do it in the way that you are all good characters doing evil things? Does that balance out and make it neutral?
That's a good question. I think.
Or does it just make you break character fairly bad?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard if you I mean, it would be kind of fun, actually, if you had a bunch of characters that were just like just out of seminary or something. It's like a whole bunch of a fun little crew of, the holy, like, Temple of Helm or whatever. They're good people. They've got the cool kids' Bible or whatever they're reading. And then all of a sudden they're kind of going, okay, and your quest today is kill God. Like, your quest today is... And they're like, what? I gotta go kill God. Well, we've got balance. We've got to balance out the world. And,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have faith in this particular God, and we just don't think that that's going to really work for for what's going on out there. I would actually say that if you're really trying to do neutral, if you're actually trying to go for a neutral party, none of the characters have a particular moral conviction one way or another.
Probably.
Yeah, that kind of defeats
It's the A team for another way is that they're the apathetic party. Oh, please help me. My husband's been kidnapped.
Yeah, all right.
Is there money in it?
Yeah.
Yes. Their motivations are purely greed.
Yeah, I usually assume that if you're going to have a neutral party, they're probably not going to have very heavy moral conviction one way or another.
Oh, probably not.
No, because I think that's kind of going to defeat the purpose. Now, that's assuming that you're actually going out on the outset thinking that you're going to have a party that is not really in it for anything except maybe themselves or just the job that they have been tasked with.
Here's the question. If you have a party that is morally gray,
yeah,
doesn't really care one way or another, as a games master, would you make the quests try to actually get them to feel a thing? Or would you lean into that and give them the most ridiculously, swayed quests one way or another?
I think that it would actually be more interesting to do the latter, wouldn't it? Like, what other opportunity are you going to have to really just lean into the neutrality of it all? And just or even better, if it was something I was doing, literally just have no stake in it one way or the other of the character succeeding or failing anyway. So just let them kind of go along whatever this path is, and then just...
I need you to go light our enemy town on fire.
Yes.
And then you take a contract from the enemy town to do the same thing to the first, and you have 2 towns in flames, and you're walking away with the explosion behind you.
Yeah. And then you start wondering, oh no, who's going to pay us? No one. No one's going to pay you because they're all
at that
gone.
point, you just steal everything and call it good.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you realize that it was actually all in the service of a fire freak or something like that. Who was just like, oh, actually now my people can thrive. You have made a burning town for us to live in. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that a neutral party, so to speak, has to be bland. It doesn't have to be basically the color gray of parties. I think it just means that you aren't going to be going down the line saying, well, we have to do a morally just thing to try and save the world, or, oh, we're going to take over the world because we need to make sure everybody's under our thrall. You're more or less just saying that we're going to go and take on quests because adventuring is our job, and we need to do our job, and we'd like to be good at our job.
Right. It's all about getting things done at that point.
Exactly. A lot of times you'll just end up doing your job, even if you're I don't know exactly what the purpose is. Jobs that I've even had, when they would ask you to do stuff, it wasn't really because this is the good thing to do or this is the bad thing to do. It's no, we just need to get the boxes off the truck now.
It's the good thing to do. Don't make that truck driver wait.
Don't make the truck driver wait. I guess that's sort of the good thing. But it's the utilitarian campaign of just doing the thing that needs to be done so that you can...
The party just buys a couple of donkeys.
Sure.
And a cart, and they're just moving goods. They are the D&D freight company.
They are the D&D freight company. So basically, we've made the trading simulator of RPGs.
Yeah, you just don't mess with the trading part.
Sure.
You just have them fight off bandits the entire time.
Yeah. Oh, you know what we do? It's just the Oregon Trail. as an RPG.
Ah, yes, you've died of scurvy.
You've died of scurvy. Because if you think about it, Oregon Trail's probably a good analog for this. All you're really trying to do is just get across the country in your wagon. There's really no morally good or bad thing that's going on there. Your party members could die. You have to shoot a lot of squirrels. There's a lot of stuff going on. Good, bad. It's just, you have an objective. I need to get from here to here. That's it.
I've got an objective as well. Oregon Trail, the TTRPG D&D experience.
Perfect. I like that. The irony is, as we talked about on the last episode, that would also probably do really, really well.
Probably.
Coming to Kickstarter. Out of curiosity, if you're running a campaign, you are running a campaign. Is your objective to try and lead people down a certain path, so to speak?
Currently, no.
No?
No. Oh, currently no. I'm teaching. We're teaching 2 new players how to play, and less focused on the aspect of alignment.
Sure.
Than anything, because it's not super important. So no.
Yeah.
And I generally don't try to push players on one path or another unless there's a narrative reason. So.
Fair enough. Yeah. Recently, Wizards of the Coast have also just kind of moved away from the alignment system altogether, for probably similar reasons. That it seemed to be very limiting for characters. So, hey, who knows? If you're out there and you're listening to this, maybe you should try actually playing a neutral campaign. Like, actually intend to play a neutral campaign. See how that goes. Because,
feel a bit apathetic about playing it, and then see how it goes.
Right. You get really deep into the mechanics, you don't care that much about the storytelling, but for D&D, that means if you're into the mechanics, chances are you're doing a lot of combat, so I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, but neutral nonetheless. I feel something about that.